Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Story Hour. I'm your host, Daniel Marcus. My fabulous co-host is Laura Blackwell, and I hope that you are all healthy and safe and taking care of yourselves and your loved ones in what continue to be deeply weird times. I started Story Hour 3 years ago, just about exactly 3 years ago, maybe a touch shy of 3 years ago, in early pandemic, lockdown, fear, uncertainty. And what I was trying to do, what I was hoping to do, was just create a really small kind of safe space for my writer friends and I to get together and share our work with each other. So my vision and intention was kind of like a small, cozy sort of deal. And it's still cozy and it still feels small when we're here, but it's just grown way beyond that. In 3 years, we've had literally hundreds of amazing writers just come through these rooms. And it's been just a real privilege to be a part of it and to help make it happen. So the idea is really simple. I like to think of it as one of the oldest forms of entertainment in human history, which is folks sitting around the fire telling lies to each other. And so here at Story Hour, we do exactly that. We've got two authors, just about 30 minutes each. And tonight, we are extremely happy to have Oghenechovwe Donald Ekpeki and P.L. Watts. So welcome to you both. I'm happy to announce that we've received a Sefwa Givers Grant for 2023, so that we can continue to keep the lights on and keep these virtual rooms open, and so that we can continue to bring you what we like to think of, we like to believe is some of the best in spoken word speculative fiction that you can get anywhere these days. It is our custom to ask authors to indicate a worthy cause for us to call your attention to. And if you're fortunate enough to be in a position to help to do that, if you're not, that's totally cool. Just be aware, spread the word. Oghenechovwe is reading tonight for chessinslumsafrica.com. This is a nonprofit organization that uses the game of chess to help youngsters in slum communities realize their full potential through chess training and life orientation. P.L. Watts is reading tonight for Youth Spirit Artworks. That's youthspiritartworks.org. This is an interfaith art, jobs, and job training program located in Berkeley, my hometown, which is committed to empowering homeless and low-income San Francisco Bay Area young people ages 16 to 25. It was founded in 2007 as a response to the enormous employment challenges of older, homeless, and low-income youth. So the mission of Youth Spirit Artworks is to use art jobs and jobs training to empower and transform the lives of youth. So check those out. Be aware. Contribute if you can. Just be aware if you can't. We're going to start tonight with P.L. Watts. P.L. Watts aged out of the Florida foster care system and worked her way through school. She played with gators as a child. Awesome. And she loves her food spicy. Her first novella, The Bonnie Swans, came out in January. That's as in like this past January from Cemetery Gates Media as part of Mother Horror's My Dark Library series. And her personal essays appeared in Nightmare, Ruminate, New Letters, and elsewhere. You can find her on Twitter at Pamela Watts, and you can find her at plwatts.com. And this is her second Story Hour appearance, a repeat offender. Welcome back. And Pam, the floor is yours. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me again. I'm super excited to be here. So I'm just reading a very short little story tonight. It's from Cemetery Gates Media's Campfire Macabre, Volume 2, from the section Out in the Fields, Forests, and Lakes. There's a subtext of childhood badness here, if people need to know that. So anyway, that's everything that I write. So there we go. It's called The Heart of the Everglades. Framed by bald cypress trees dripping Spanish moss and the spiny fingers of black mangroves grasping upwards from the water, The heart was in the center of the swamp. Its boundaries were more felt than seen, like spiders creeping up your neck. The schools took trips to the swamp every year. The teachers passed by the heart as they shepherded their charges down the boardwalk, but they never mentioned it. You could hear their denial in the silence. Still, everyone knew what they wouldn't say. The swamp took children. Each generation lost at least one. The police rarely searched for them, a waste of time and resources, and they never found a pattern to the child the heart took. Only there might be something sensitive, something ethereal about each one, or maybe it just seemed that way because the memory faded so quickly, a yellowing picture in an album full of children that the world deemed forgettable. The heart stood just east of the boardwalk, where Benny's class was separating armadillo from opossum, wood stork from anhinga, bromeliad from staghorn fern. They had walked and had lunch and been lectured about topics like ecological niches and keystone species for ever so long, but finally they'd got done with all that, and Benny could go off by himself and sketch for a bit. He kept his back to the heart as he worked. Its presence warmed him. Benny was a normal boy. Everyone said so, even his mother. Normal, dirty, brownish hair in the standard shaggy little boy style. Normal, bluish t-shirt, slightly wrinkled, with a smudge of ketchup on the hem that his mother never got out. Normal, bony little boy legs and normal, grayish little boy skin from staying inside all day drawing and talking to his cat Lasky, who was his greatest friend, and would surely miss him if he ever went missing. He was a curious child. He liked to inspect things, to get inside them. He drew the trailers from banyan trees with aching precision down to the ground, something he'd noticed that even the most detailed artists in his plant guides didn't have patience for, fudging the edges, which gave him a sense of both frustration and professional pride. He'd sit on the ground for hours before the sun set, capturing the tip of the vine perfectly, sustained perhaps by just one olive here and there, meticulously picked from a roll he'd stolen from his mother's purse, which he was sure she'd meant to leave for him anyway. Never noticing the seep of the wet earth into his clothing, the way that his flesh peaked as his body lost heat. And the swamp had more to observe than any other place on earth, more insects to catalog, lizards to watch, orchids to dissect. Benny had tried human friends, but they were never quite as thrilling. So he looked forward to his yearly visit to the swamp, though he'd learned not to say so to his teachers. This day, on his last field trip, Benny notices something peculiar about the light. How it's subdued over the boardwalk but breaks through the clouds over the heart. He turns and follows it down to the water. It's winter, so the whole swamp is compressed to the heart, one holding pond pulsing with activity, snapping turtles, storks, and squirrels, and mother of the swamp, the alligators. As he watches, a baby gator stalks a blue heron that's standing on the mama gator's head. The heron flies off just as the baby draws near. Such family, community, cooperation, closeness. A pileated woodpecker drills a hole in a tree somewhere above him. It sounds for the world like someone knocking. The mama gator looks up, meets Benny's eye, opens her jaws wide, perhaps to yawn, but he takes it as a welcome. And then a panther cries in the distance. It sounds so human. The teacher and the students turn towards it, away from the heart. Benny slips over the edge of the boardwalk, easily fitting between the rails. The mud squelches against his sneakers. Water creeps in and wets his sock where the hole is. Each step sucks at him more and more. Then the water is around his ankles, up to his knees. Water moccasins caress his calves and swim before him, an honor guard. Black widows swing from cypress boughs, brushing his shoulders, welcoming him home. He walks straight to the mama gator. She opens her mouth wide again. He steps inside. Her tongue is soft and warm. And
Wow. Oh man, that was lovely.
That's
Thank-
not the way found family stories usually work.
Uh,
Wow, That was really good, though. Thank you.
Really beautifully written too. Really lyrical.
Thanks.
Right. Well, it's our custom to just stop and breathe for a moment between authors, just kind of let the work resonate for a moment or two. So that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I encourage y'all to do the same. All right, onward. Oghenechovwe Donald Ekpeki is an African speculative fiction writer, editor, and publisher from Nigeria. He has won the Nebula, Otherwise, British Fantasy, World Fantasy, and Nomo Awards, and is a Locus, British Science Fiction, Hugo, and NAACP Image Award finalist. Oghenechovwe founded the Amika Walter Dinjos, I hope I have pronounced that correctly, Memorial Award for Disability in Speculative Fiction, co-edited the Africa Risen and Dominion anthologies, edited the Bridging Worlds and Year's Best African Speculative Fiction anthology. You can find his latest works at Ekpeki, that's ODEKPEKI.com. Welcome, Oghenechovwe, and the floor is yours. I think you need to unmute yourself, sir.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, so I'll be reading from my short story titled Destiny Delayed. It was published in Asimov's May-June issue, and it was reprinted in Galaxy's Edge September issue. It's going to be translated to Chinese and Italian. I haven't even announced that. That was today. And I think some other languages. And so, yeah. So, I'll be reading from it. It's a John Bender short story set in near future Nigeria. So, yeah, I'll dive in. Mr. Mukoro was sitting at the front of his veranda at about 5:30 a.m. The faint glint of early dawn revealed the figure passing his frontage. It was Chinedu Oka, and he stopped to greet. "Bros, how you dey? You're up early, oh." "No," Mr. Mukoro replied, "I'm down late." "Working on your research?" "No, on an old project, approaching a breakthrough. I need funds to finish it, but I'm trying to find a way to finish it without funds." "It would be a real breakthrough if you can finish your product without funds, eh? Finish your project, abolish capitalism, and change the world to make life good for us all." Mukoro was amused in spite of himself. "I have to be off early to escape traffic," Chinedu said. "I'm going to head office on the island." "Have you been transferred?" "I hope so, or at least it should be promotion." "That's some news," Mukoro said, standing up to give Chinedu a handshake. "When you return, we'll drink to it." "Of course, that's if you aren't too busy with your project." Mukoro laughed gently. "Go come, brother. Greet Madame Anero for me," Chinedu said as he departed. A moment later, a slim, dark Ishekiri woman stepped out with a 7-year-old young girl, still groggy with sleep. The girl saw Mukoro and ran to hug him. "Daddy, Migo, Vrendo, my child." The woman curtsied. "Migo, Papa Nero." "Vrendo, Mama Nero," he said with a smile. She smiled back, smacking the child's butt playfully and pulling her from playing with her father's beard, which she held onto. He screamed in mock pain, and she giggled as she was pulled away. The child slipped out of her mother's grip and ran back to him. "Oghenechovwe," her mom called sternly. "Come and bathe now, or you'll be late for school, and they will flog you when you get there." The little girl looked at her father askance. He nodded. She kissed the cheek he turned for her and returned grudgingly to her mother, who dragged her to the corner of the house. Mukoro sighed and closed his eyes, and the numbers and equations came unbidden to him as they usually did. Chinedu Oka alighted from the keke napep that dropped him at the side street and walked a few steps to the head office of AUB, the Africa United Bank. He blended in with the top bankers and persons in the finance sector. His crisp blue suit and starched white shirt, making him look as sharp as the drawn blade of a mushing gangster, intent on robbing someone at 2 a.m. He was glad to be here. He was glad to have left the position of cashier, handling the grubby notes of traders and students at the Yaba branch of AUB, and marketer briefly thereafter. He approached the nearest help desk and presented his ID, informing the attendant that he had an appointment with Mr. Abiola Yusuf of Human Resources. She placed the call before signaling him to wait, for Mr. Yusuf was in a meeting. This early, Chinedu wondered. Well, he would wait. He had been waiting a long time after all. 3 years as a contract staff and 6 at the Yaba AUB branch. He was led to the waiting room to do what he was named after. Finally, Mr. Yusuf walked in and shook his hand. Good morning, sir, Chinedu said, surprised to see Mr. Yusuf sporting a blue kaftan on a Monday morning. In Yaba branch, even the branch manager didn't wear native dress unless it was Friday, but this was head office. He guessed when one was this close to the top, one did what one wanted. Mr. Chinedu Oka, is it? Mr. Yusuf asked in a Hausa accent. Yes, sir. Walk with me. Chinedu followed him out of the waiting room to an elevator. Mr. Yusuf punched in the 13th floor and spoke to him as the elevator rose. You read the brochure, right? So you know what we do here. Yes, sir. Well, I want to give you a few pointers and show you around so you see and understand a bit more of what we do in this department. They came out of the elevator and walked down the hallway. You were the most active marketer in the Yaba branch, Mr. Yusuf continued. Only the best get recommended here. Your record is stellar. They say you pulled in 6 billion naira in 6 months, 1 billion per month. Mr. Yusuf stared at Chinedu and nodded. He seemed to like what he saw in Chinedu's eyes. Well, now you will help us with something more than money. He stopped in front of a large department marked UBD at the top of the entranceway, United Bank of Destiny. Chinedu could hardly believe himself when he was ushered into the UBD. Although he had read the brochure, he wasn't sure he wasn't being pranked. This is the measurement and extraction room, Mr. Yusuf explained. This is where destiny is mapped, measured, and extracted. The procedure was in process. A young man was standing in front of a machine that looked like an X-ray machine. Mr. Yusuf waved to the technicians in lab coats, gloves, coveralls, and goggles. The technicians switched on the destiny machine, and it emitted a whirring noise. There were a number of wires connected to the machine, which in turn were connected to screens around the room. Its whirring turned louder, and the air rippled in front of and behind the young man. It took on a dark gray hue. The hue turned from dark gray to purple, then to gray again. Then the air stopped wailing, and one of the technicians switched off the destiny machine. The screens do the soul reading, and the vibrancy of the colors displayed the intensity of the destiny, Mr. Yusuf said, turning to Chinedu, who still stared at the operation and the operators. The process measures the capacity of a man's destiny. The destiny is then extracted by the machine and stored in a soul cube. As the young man was led away to wear his clothes, Chinedu noticed that his eyes looked dead and his face was bleached of color. Mr. Yusuf led Chinedu to another room marked acquisitions and mortgages. This will be your office. The destinies you determine and measure will be extracted and kept as collateral for your loans. Your job will be much like the old one as a marketer at the Yaba branch. But this time, you will market young people who want loans, but who have no property for collateral. You convince them to use their destinies as collateral. It's a way for us to be of service to the needy. Think of it as an empowerment scheme to help those who would otherwise not be able to get the funds they need. It's like student loans in America. This is, of course, a very sensitive department. You will see our lawyers to sign a non-disclosure agreement. That's fine with you, of course. Yes, sir, Chinedu smiled knowingly. The monthly salary here was more than he had earned in a year at Yaba branch. In no time, he would clear all his loans, even get a car, and moving to the island would be possible. Mr. Abiola's voice snapped Chinedu out of his reverie. I read your dossier and knew that you are an achiever, overachiever like yourself, would definitely be up for the job. Otherwise, we would have had you sign the non-disclosure even before you came in. But I like to think I'm a good judge of people, or I wouldn't be head of HR. Mr. Yusuf chuckled and Chinedu chuckled politely in return. Mr. Yusuf kept walking and talking. Discretion is very important to what we do here. Not that it's illegal. The young men and women who come for loans all consent to have their destinies extracted and kept as collateral. Not that there is anything in the law about this, nor can the law make sense of it. We just don't want the uproar it would cause if uninformed ears got to know of what we do. You know, Nigerians are superstitious. They won't understand that we just want to help people. Mukoro and Chinedu sat drinking at a beer parlor at Montgomery, Yaba. Bottles of Alomo, Gouda, and small stout littered their table. Hunched over, they discussed dreams and ambitions, as fermented as the leftover alcohol in their bottles. They were seeking ways to escape the penury that clung to them like paint on the wall, ever fading but not quite gone. It clutched them with the tenacity of a wounded soldier behind Boko Haram lines, far from home but unwilling to leave this world without a goodbye to his family. So I let them extract her destiny as collateral for a loan of any amount I want, Mukoro was asking. Not any amount, but an amount not exceeding 8 figures in Naira. And that's after reading her destiny to ascertain its worth. Mukoro rubbed his beard. I see, he said thoughtfully. Chinedu looked at him with shrewd eyes that retained their sharpness, despite the numerous bottles of alcohol they had consumed. You don't seem overly surprised by any of this. Mukoro shook his head. I studied systems engineering, and my PhD was in soul mapping and interactions with spirit particles. He glanced at Chinedu before adding, what do you think my research and projects are all about? You could say destiny led us here. Mukoro leaned forward and continued. My grandfather was a great jazzman in his time. He was blind but could see more clearly than those with 2 eyes. He could uncannily put together pieces of the unformed future. You know, that is what they do when they map the soul and read a person's destiny. The device they call a soultrifier can map what we now call spirit particles, or what the rest of the world knows of as dark matter. The soultrifier is built to calculate the propensity of the soul, like a sort of advanced probability. If you want to simplify it, you can say it's a combination of very advanced possibilities tied to your DNA structure and other things we don't yet understand. Kind of like how we know a fit person might go into sports or a lonely person into arts or literature. The soultrifier is the real breakthrough. It finds a way to extract the unique strand of each person's propensity and store it in a soul cube. Mr. Mukoro stopped talking and took a pull of his beer. Chinedu called for a waiter, 2 more bottles of big stout. My grandfather prophesied that I would give my child a great destiny. That was before my first degree, when I didn't know anything about this. He used the word destiny in English, even though he wasn't educated or spoke any language other than Yoruba. My grandfather has never been wrong in such utterances before. I don't think this one will be wrong either. That's why I'm so focused on this research. I want to leave a legacy for my child. I want to ensure she gets that promised destiny. This is for her, you understand? It's my destiny to grant her a great destiny. I must bequeath her more than was bequeathed on me, but I cannot do much as it is. It seems destiny cannot be realized without funds. I can't even get a reasonable job with my PhD, much less funding for my research. I can't apply for foreign grants with a project like this. It has only made headway here because of our combination of science and spirituality. It took the work of the Council of Dibias, Babalawos, and scientists to discern how to interact with the spirit particles. So I can't get funds from outside, as they would not think much of a project like this. But if I can get the loan from your bank to finish my research, I can leave something for Nero and fulfill my destiny to gift her a great destiny. I see, Chinedu said. Not that I wish to make you question this, since it's my job to get people to take loans. But you're also my friend. Isn't the loan unnecessary? The breakthrough has been done already and monetized. Or what use is your research? Mukoro laughed until tears trickled from his eyes and he wiped them. You should know that no research is finished. All the technology we have is still being improved on. And this is a new area. There's still a lot more to discover. Chinedu smiled. So I'll see you at the office tomorrow then. Yes. You said extracting the destiny doesn't hurt. Yes, it doesn't hurt. It's just the net weight of probabilities and the person's propensity to achieve a thing. In the same way that being paralyzed doesn't kill. I know, I just wanted to confirm. And the destiny will be kept intact, returned, and integrated with the source. Of course, it will be returned and reintegrated once the loan is fully paid, along with the interest. And it's legal for parents to take a loan with the destiny of a child, a minor. Yes, although it's a legal gray area, as the law doesn't recognize the procedure yet. The law is still catching up, so you have nothing to worry about. You cannot sin where there is no law. Parents and legal guardians can consent on behalf of their children. It's like taking your child for a bone marrow transplant. All right, I'll talk with my wife tonight, Mukoro said, and frowned as if he hadn't been reassured by the idea that what he was doing was a sin, even if he couldn't be held responsible. Chinedu noticed the look on his face. Remember, you are doing this for her and to fulfill your grandfather's prophecy. I know, Mukoro nodded. Chinedu poured his remaining drink into the bottle, another 3 more bottles for Mukoro. Mukoro thanked him and took another long pull. Okay. Okay. And took another long pull and then asked, nothing more for you? Nah, I'm all right for now, Chinedu said. I have to rise early for work tomorrow. I have to wake up by 4 and leave before 5 to beat island traffic. Mukuro rose to shake Chinedu's hand and see him off. All right, good night. Don't forget to talk to Madame about it this night. Chinedu called as he left. Mukuro returned to his drink, his somber thoughts rising vampire-like, despite his efforts to bury them in eternal. 3 years and 8 months later, a black Range Rover and a white 4MATIC Benz parked in front of a Chinese restaurant in Awolowo Road, Ikoyi. Mukoro climbed out of the Range Rover, while Chinedu climbed out of the 4MATIC. They shook hands and were about to go into the eatery when Chinedu tapped Mukoro and said, "Let's talk in the car. I have some sensitive information." Mukoro nodded and opened the door of the Range Rover, and they both stepped in and closed the door. The AC was running. Mr. Mukoro spoke first. "There's something wrong. The loan defaults in 7 months, doesn't it?" Chinedu nodded. "I don't understand why I'm unable to clear the interest, try as I might. There's always something left, and the loan never goes down." Chinedu shrugged and said, "But you seem to be doing well." "Which isn't the point," Mukoro cut in harshly. You know I want to clear the loan and recover something else more than money." Nero was in secondary school and just wrote her junior WAEC exams. In another 3 years, she will be looking to attend the university. You have the funds for that, don't you? And enough for Oghenechovwe too, for that matter. How is it, by the way, and madam? They are fine, Mukoro said perfunctorily, dismissing the question. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about Nero. Her teachers report that she lacks interest in everything, even though her grades are middling and fine. And her eyes are always dead. Chinedu's brows creased momentarily. Mukoro would not have noticed if he had not been watching for it. You know something of this, don't you? And why my businesses seem to be doing well, but never well enough to clear the loan. I don't, Chinedu began. Mukoro cut him off. No, don't do that, please. Chinedu sighed and looked Mukoro in the eye before he began. I turned a blind eye, but the truth is I always knew something was off. The way I was chosen, the department, my handler, but I was hungry and they knew it. Too hungry to ask questions, too hungry to think or choose to do the right thing. Head of HR truly was a good judge of people. I think I'm basically a devil in a suit, sent to tempt the vulnerable for their destinies. I get the low and the desperate like myself and yourself. The destinies, Mukoro said, returning to the subject he desperately needed to discuss. They were never going to be given back, Chinedu said. Your businesses are monitored and sabotaged. Not enough for you to notice, but enough so you cannot repay the loan on time. And the destinies become theirs. They are sold at ungodly amounts to powerful men who take them for themselves and enhance their chances at success or give them to their families. That's why the rich and powerful in Nigeria are becoming richer and more powerful. Mukoro listened in silence. Chinedu said, You knew this, didn't you? I began to piece it together recently. I suppose like you, I always knew, but my poverty prevented me from thinking straight. The obfuscating grin of the Naira tempted my gaze away from the truth. Your research? Chinedu asked. I've finished it. The machine I built can map souls and extract destinies, just like the one at your bank. But mine is more energy efficient as it runs on solar power. I tried to get investors or talk to people in government, but I met roadblocks at every turn. I couldn't even register a company for it. I was blocked from Corporate Affairs Commission up. This is a government-enabled monopoly, Chinedu said. They don't want competition. That's why the rest of the world doesn't know about it. Chinedu lowered his voice and added, if you push too closely, try to get to the press or talk to too many people about this, you might wind up in a shallow grave somewhere. Or an accident, Mukoro said calmly. He lit a cigarette and handed one to Chinedu, who took it and lit it. Both men smoked in silence for a while. I can't let it go, Mukoro said. It's my daughter's destiny. Don't be stupid, Chinedu said. The powers that be. I made a promise to my wife. I told her she could trust me. She did. You have a family now, your son. So what? I should sacrifice my daughter's destiny for the family, for my son. Mukoro looked at Chinedu with wild, angry eyes. Chinedu sighed and resumed smoking. After a while, they both finished. I am not nobody now, you know. Mukoro continued. I know things and I have power. Chinedu shook his head, not compared to the people who control the bank. They are the same people who control Nigeria, the governors, the senators, the cabals behind the president. Chinedu opened his door, but did not get out. I've been looking for a way to quit. Being a headhunter for destinies is taking its toll on me. I just haven't found a way to do so freely. I'll be heading home to my fiancé now. See that you return to your family, okay? Don't do anything rash, Mukoro said. Mukoro said nothing in response. Chinedu closed the door with a sigh, walked into his car, and drove off. 8 months later, Mukoro walked into the AUB head office and was led to the Department of Soil Measurement and Extraction. He had an appointment. It was the appointed time. For him, for Nero, he had a debt to pay, or not pay, rather. Some debts you paid by not paying. He had dined with the devil, and it didn't matter how long the spoon was. Silver bullets kill werewolves, it is said, but Nigerian devils ate silver and chewed their way up the spoon to your fingertips, then down your hands till they licked your brains off their own fingers. He looked at his Aldemar. It was such an expensive timepiece. But despite the costliness, the glowing jewels, his time was up and he couldn't buy more. It was 11 o'clock, fittingly the 11th hour. He walked into Chinedu's office. The lawyer, the devil's advocate, was there, along with another man, probably Chinedu's handler. They were there to oversee the handover. Chinedu said some words to Mukoro, but he couldn't hear. The words flittered past him. He caught some, defaulted on the loan. Destiny is forfeit. Sign here. Mr. Mukoro, sign. There was a paper in front of him. They handed a pen to him. He looked at them and smiled. He would sign for them in blood. He stood up and tore his jacket open. When you sell your soul or another's, you should always sign in blood. I will sign with my blood since I made the trade. The occupants of the room gawked at him. Lining his jacket were a number of wires running into a device sewed into his coat. He pulled out a detonator. The occupants of the room all backed away. Bomb? Chinedu's handler queried. No, it's not a bomb. Chinedu said, spitting, not the type that takes lives. Anyway, just the type that takes destinies. The handler raised an eyebrow. What do you want? More money? You can relax. We have money. I don't want money. I want my daughter's destiny. I knew you would never give back what you stole. So once I confirmed 8 months ago, I started reworking my prototype. It will rip the destinies from everyone within a 10-mile radius and integrate them with the operator of the device. He turned to Chinedu. I told you it was my destiny to gift my child a great destiny, and I will not be denied by thieves and saboteurs. He screamed at them. The lawyer backed off. Yes, Mukoro continued. When I activate the device, it will rip the destinies of everyone in this den of thieves and integrate them to me, including my child. I can ask for just hers, but you all don't deserve what you have. Thieves. The handler rushed at Mukoro and he pushed the button on his detonator. The air came alive, crackling with electricity. Thunder boomed outside and began to rain. A blast tore through the room, many blasts occurring around everyone as their destinies were ripped from them and drawn to Mr. Mukoro. His eyes blazed with each destiny he integrated, while those he took their destinies from fell with dead eyes. A dozen, 2, 3, 4 dozen destinies, and Mukoro's eyes glowed. Then his device overheated and burst into flames. He ripped it off and tossed it away. Chinedu, the lawyer, and the handler stood before him with dead eyes. Mukoro turned to them. I know you pressed the security button, and the police will be here soon. He pulled a gun. They all backed off. Have you heard the saying that destiny can be delayed but not denied? A seemingly nonsensical phrase, but true nonetheless. Destiny is like energy, it can be transferred but not destroyed. And it can't be transferred permanently. Its unique code is tied to the original owner's DNA. So when it's not gifted to anyone and the current holder dies, it goes back to its original source if they are still alive. When I die, all the destinies I have taken will go back to their owners. If I don't gift them to anyone else, you will have your sordid destinies back. He paused. And my daughter too. That's all I wanted. After what is mine. What is yours? The handler asked. We gave you the loan. You defaulted. You have no right. Chinedu pointed the gun at the handler and he backed away. Just then, the police, 3 men and a woman, burst into the room. Time slowed. Mukoro smiled at the handler, who was waving at the SARS unit not to shoot, but Mukoro knew. The Nigerian police would not refrain from shooting an armed man pointing a gun at a senior bank manager. You could trust the police to do their jobs the one time they shouldn't. Mukoro heard the shots of multiple guns going off. His body hit the ground. The bullets had hit him faster than he had taken the sound to travel to his ears, breaking him along with the sound barrier. His vision dimmed. The handler was screaming for an ambulance and for a destiny extraction machine before he died. Mukoro willed himself to die. His destiny. He closed his eyes permanently and fulfilled it. Okay, a different scene. Nero got up. Her brother Oghenechovwe was asleep, and the adults were happy to see her go, not wanting to have such difficult conversations around her. She went upstairs to her father's room, then to his private study. She rifled through the papers scattered on his desk, pulling out one and scanned it briefly. It read, Destiny Extraction and Replication. She knew this already. Her father's last work was not just about extracting destinies forcefully. It was also about replicating energy signatures and mimicking them. When he died and the originals went back to their source, the copies stayed or came to her, his closest DNA match. So now she had the destiny of a couple of 100 people. Her father had gifted her a great destiny, as he had always wanted. She closed her eyes, letting thoughts and desires wash through her. She opened her eyes. They glowed fiercely. Some things pushed her from within. She had to finish her father's work. She let the thoughts and visions drive her as she began to look over his research. As she read, her eyes closed, but her reading did not stop. Voices whispered words to her. The voices were the physical manifestation of possibilities that had torn apart through other realities to find their way to her. She already knew the words. Other voices whispered to her, increasing in tempo and numbers. We are legion. We bring you your great destiny. She dropped the book and held her head in agony. A great destiny did not mean a good one for the holder, or a sane one for that matter. She wheeled the voices away. They grew silent for a moment, then issued from her as colors: violet, violent gray, then purple. Dark manifestations of all that was in her. The colors gathered in the room above her, then merged together, changing and expanding into a black torrential darkness that gathered around her. She looked at it with eyes wide, and through these doors, this open doorway to her soul, the colors rushed furiously into her. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, they did not look like the eyes of a 12-year-old. They were deep and mysterious, shining with a dark speckled light of unspoken things, of a great and powerful force waiting to be unleashed on the greedy, wicked, and unsuspecting world. But her look contained something even more wicked, the destiny that would not be denied. So yeah, done. Hope that wasn't over time.
Wow, I love that.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
It is
Uh,
our pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
What a night. All right. Well, thank you both. That's P.O. Watson, Oghenechovwe Donald Ekpeki. And next week, we have Alex Jennings and Wole Talabi. Until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Thank you all for coming back every week. I want to thank my co-host, again, our wonderful authors, and all of you for making this an ongoing project. Both Laura and I feel really privileged to be able to continue to curate it. Have a great week, folks. See you next time. Good night.
All right. Oh, but anybody can ask me anything online as well. So yeah. All right.